Wow, how'd that happen? Yeah. Well, might be something there, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I have two suggestions for that. And the first one, the most important, easiest one is when you're riding and you're working on your connection, and we do this by riding our half halt, make sure you're very clear about the two parts. Okay, so I look at it this way: it's a 1-to-1 ratio. If I make a contraction, if I tighten my core, close my leg, and I close my hand, and I ask the horse for compression, whether it works or it doesn't work, I have to relax and then do it again. So maybe it didn't work, so I'll recalibrate the aid, but I have to relax. I don't squeeze a second time and compound that squeezing. So the point here is, each time that I would apply a certain degree of pressure, I equalize that with a moment of the pressure is off. Constantly, constantly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. The second thing I would do is, there's nothing wrong with increasing your frequency of walk breaks. So, I mean, if you walk 8 times, no problem. Nothing bad's going to happen from you taking 4 or 3 or 5 extra walk breaks, whatever it is you would like. And when we look at the time, when do we take a walk break? So hang on a second. As I'm talking to you, make sure your half halt's a little bit better so it stabilizes her top line, okay? Because she's a little bit up and she's a little bit down. So your half halt has to intercept her before she tenses her back and then comes up in her head and neck posture. So nothing bad's going to happen from taking a walk break. And when do I take one? Okay, well, it's the following. Historically, most people take a walk break because they get tired. And because they get tired and there's fatigue, they come to the conclusion that I better take a break because I'm getting tired and my timing and coordination will deteriorate. Okay, so that's called too late. So they're taking a walk break when they've already noticed that they're fatigued and their timing is already slowed down. Now, the problem with this is she has nothing better to do in her life today. So when you sit on her, she's going to observe absolutely everything you do, feel-wise. She'll notice everything you do. So horses are statisticians. She's going to notice all the statistics, what you do on the right side, what you do on the left. Or you take a walk break because you're frustrated, things aren't going well, and you need to rethink what you're doing. That's a possibility. Or you take a walk break because it's going so well. But the optimal time to take a walk break is when you don't need to. So if you're not tired and things are going well, then optimally, then pause and take a break there. Okay. If you wait until the letter S of the word start to deteriorate, or you start to get tired, that in fact is actually a little too late. If it's in Wellington and someone's warming up, I'm warming them up, and I ask them would they like a drink of water, and they say, when it's 93 degrees and 87% humidity, they say no. Okay, well, I'm not going to force you to have this water, but by the time that you're done riding your test and you're gasping for air and reaching your hand and you want the water bottle, that's called too late. So you have to prevent the dehydration, not be in it, and then want to deal with it. In concept, it's the same thing with your horse with pretty much everything you're doing. So when you walk her right now, technically in this direction, you need to make sure that she's softer, better connected on your right snaffle rein, and that your half halt is in a rhythm. Half halt now, round, through, under, relax, half halt now. Same words, but maybe a little bit straighter with her shoulders. Her shoulders are angled that way. Half halt now. Fix whatever needs fixing, relax. So when I make a half halt, you could half halt based on what you feel the horse doing. Or you could half halt based on the fact that you're the trainer, fearless leader, and role model of the horse. And the horse has to adjust to your rhythm of what you're doing, not you adjust to it. Now, this isn't concrete one way or the other. It's kind of a two-way street. But you just have to realize, if you walked on this circle and you watch 120-meter circle on this video, then look what she's doing with her top line. What does she do over her rear end, her pelvis to her lower back? What does she do under the saddle? And what does she do from your hands over her neck to the bit? So this is interesting because she's actually very good behind. And under the saddle, also quite good. But your connection from below your hands to the bit is unpredictable. It's not consistent, nearly halt. So that's where you have to improve your timing and coordination. Make her rounder, a little rounder and straighter. Her shoulders are out. Now soften. Now repeat that half halt before she makes the mistake. So normally most people will make an effort to make an improvement when there's a stimulus to improve. This means, oops, something's gone wrong, or it started to go wrong, and then you're provoked to make the correction. This is not what I'm talking about. When she is correct, and you would say, hey, that feels pretty good, or I verify it and say, looks great, then make another half halt that tells her to stay that way, and then relax. Don't wait for her to fall apart and then correct her. Also in this direction, your geometry is mostly an octagon. So she keeps falling out. Right there, she's falling out. More outside leg and rein. So watch where you're riding. Make sure it's a circular line. Watch me. Any deviation from this curvature with her forehand going outward, she's falling through your right rein and your right leg. So you've lost your alignment. Forward, straight, equals throughness. She's forward, but she's not directly straight between both seat bones, legs, and reins. Therefore, you have an unpredictable throughness in this direction, halt. So if I was judging you, I'm going to see this immediately. So everything you're doing going to the left is going to be a bit of a problem. And everything you're doing going to the right, it's going to be better, but the comment associated with going to the right will be, you need more flexion and bend. So even there, when you approach that wall, see right there? It's got to be straighter than that. So her forehand has to be one hook bit over there. Core, seat, leg yield her forehand over there. Don't put your right leg back. You've got to put the entire horse over, or put your right leg in front of the girth and push your shoulders over. So it feels like nearly halt, forehand, push it to the inside. And if you need to, you can even use your whip on her shoulder. But you have to get rid of this. We're only walking, and if the mistake is apparent in the walk, it's going to be 2 times the mistake in trot and 3 to 5 times the mistake in canter. Anybody that's really good at judging is going to notice this right away. So what happens then is, oh, the horse isn't really in alignment. Then there's a biased expectation whenever you do something, you're going to have an alignment problem. Or if you fix it, the bias goes the other way. Oh, this is going to be really good. Full diagonal, half pass left. Full diagonal, half pass left. So this problem cannot exist right now if you ride this half pass properly. So make sure whenever you ride a half pass, always start with the first sensation, shoulder in. Go straight ahead and shoulder in left. Straight ahead and shoulder in left. More angle. Right. Now leg yield that shoulder into the corner. Leg yield that shoulder into your left. No, to your left. Leg yield that. Nope. See what happened with her haunches? Get the shoulder in and push the shoulder in sideward. I'm not going to use the word half pass, but get that shoulder in and push it across the arena. Thereafter, perhaps you ride a bit of control of the haunches called travers. More active walk, a little rounder. See, your half halt has to be quicker because there we see a little bit of tossing of the head up and down. Shoulder in right. Active walk, look in the corner, too much angle. See, shoulder in right's super tricky because the horses don't want to bend. Now look in the mirror, put her haunches in a little bit. Her left hind leg should be moving straight forward and back. Her right hind leg should come under her body and under your seat at an angle, but her haunches shouldn't swing out. So proper shoulder in to the right's actually quite difficult. Let's come through this corner, a little more activity in the walk, more push to the bit. Shoulder in and half pass to the right. But it's shoulder in first, confirm it. Your outside leg does not go back. This is an experienced horse. Now push your shoulders across the diagonal. Yeah, now little haunches. Now one half halt bonds all of these body parts together. You need a little more feeling of travers. Your right leg prevents her from hurrying sideward and stands her up like a mast on a sailing ship so she's not tilted. Right leg, left rein, half halt. Add more travers. Add more travers. There you go. That's parallel. Active marching walk, super round. Careful she doesn't hollow and raise her head. It's not like she goes badly off the bit, but she tenses the middle of her back. So on the next long side, look at me, put her in shoulder in. Her right front leg has to line up with my foot on this track. Shoulder in, good. Now push the shoulders to H. Now look up at the end of the arena, good. Now one half halt, core, seat, leg, maintains your shoulder in, maintains the leg yield. Now be careful, you may need moments of the feeling of travers, but not the whole time. Key word, parallel. So from under the saddle back to her tail, her body should be parallel to whatever white fence you're riding to. This is how you maximize your score in your half pass, particularly in trot. So if she's at a bit of an angle, you're not going to get a lot of crossing. One more time. Keep contact on the right rein, your right leg, and the left rein. Keep her vertical. Shoulder in. Don't let her lean or tilt to the right. Now you can ride your half pass. But just remember, if I said the word half pass, it's these three things. Okay, now you need a little bit more hind quarter. Half halt and left leg. And the timing, when her left hind leg leaves the ground, press her sideward. Now. So if you make a big half halt there and you press her with your left leg, you should get more desire of the horse to cover ground sideward. This is where your rectangle comes in. You can't ride one body part more than the other. You have to ride all of the body parts together. Shoulder in. When you ride this in a test, the shoulder in occurs, for example, in that turn. I don't literally see shoulder in. You feel it. Leg yielding and add a bit of travers. You check your mirror. So leg yield, just go that way. Yeah, but it's a half pass. So my point is, look, what is half pass? It's shoulder in, leg yielding, and travers, all stuck in a blender. Leg yielding means not the movement, the sensation. She must yield from your right leg. That's a good one. She must yield from your right leg while she's in her shoulder in and staying parallel. So be careful when you ride this next one to the right, you lose that. So her body, from under the saddle to her tail, should be just like this. Under the saddle forward, there's an angle. That's your shoulder in. But this has to be parallel to that wall you move to. And this is controlled by every half halt you ride. That's a good beginning. Yes. You see, this is, the evidence for this is in Prix St. George. Circle, half pass. Almost nobody does that correctly. They all finish the circle. They all look like the horse is going to go on a diagonal towards G, and then they flounder, and then they kind of catch up, and then they kind of go sideward. But it's highly unusual that anybody is parallel right off the bat from that circle. But if they are, then that's a very high score. Generally, everybody else is a 6-5 and a 7. So I'm going to ask you to do that one more time with a variation. So as you walk right now, full diagonal, half pass left. But it means all the stuff we talked about. Okay? So look at me at the end of the arena. More outside rein and leg. Half pass left, parallel, good. Don't rush. Look at me, don't rush. Good, parallel, super. Half halt give. Is your half halt working? Now watch, I'm gonna slow down. Whoa, nearly halt. Yes, good, now carry on. Make sure your half halt works. If you don't half halt properly in the half pass, you lose one of these components. Maybe you lose the feeling of the trad there. Maybe you lose the feeling of the leg yield or even the shoulder in. So when you ride this diagonal, one more time, MXK, half pass to the right. You probably should ride 30 half halts. So this half halt's like a dome that comes down upon you, a glass dome that circles you, and it makes sure nothing goes wrong. So inside this half pass, your shoulder in's constantly working, your concept of leg yielding is constantly working, the concept of parallel is constantly working. But what's the binding agent is your half halt. Very good. Hey, while you're doing this, could you trot a couple of steps and walk? Now make sure you aim for M. Trot a couple steps and walk. Yeah, and walk. Now the quality has to be the same. Just a couple of steps. Do it again. 1 or 2. This is the same transition you wrote on the circle the first time I taught you. Okay? Okay, so I have a new question. Please ride FXH full diagonal, half pass left, but with 5 intervals of that tiny little transition, where you just trot a step or 2, 1 or 2 steps. So you're half passing, more parallel, mirror, more parallel, more right rein. Yep. Now trot a couple steps and walk. The point is, when you're in a half pass, you need to feel that you could do both things. You could trot on, you could come back to walk. In fact, you could halt if you wanted to. But don't just feel one. Don't just feel, I'm just walking. Although I said walk, feel at any moment I could trot on. Make her a little rounder. Okay, so one more time. Here's why this is important. What are you gonna do if you ride her at this level and things go well and it's successful and you do this for 2 years? What happens then? Well, you are if you're doing exercises like this, but if you're not doing exercises like this, you're not ready. But you will say you're ready because you've ridden small tour competently for 2 years and gotten decent scores. But it doesn't mean that you'll be ready, okay? So these timings and coordinations of some things that I ask you to do, all these timings, coordinations come from your Grand Prix or the Grand Prix Special, okay? So one more time, don't give her quite a long rein yet, just give me 1 more minute. And if you do give her a long rein, make sure you half halt her so when you take up the reins, that doesn't happen. Remember, we're only walking. Okay, so I'd like you to half pass, but go to H. Even though you could go earlier, go to H. Now show me that trot transition. Except keep trotting. Except keep trotting. Yep, keep trotting. Half halt give, good. Half halt give, walk a step or 2. Just walk a step or 2. Half halt give, trot on. It's only a step or 2. No voice, use your core, seat, leg, spur, or whip. Right. So if you want to go from the walk to the trot, that's how you end up doing it. You ride the transition. So you have to verify, you've got to guarantee my half halt works. When? Now, here, over there, over there, over there. So at this time, you said something important in your communication about her. One more half pass. You said, it took a long time for me to get her to breathe. Half halting is breathing. Half halt, relax. More parallel, half halt, left leg, more parallel, relax. Half halt, relax. Good job. Walk. She can stretch forward and down, but guess what? You have to keep half halting. So you can give her a longer rein, And you can take walk break number 1. But she has to stretch forward and down. Okay, so technically, ride the technique correctly first, add power second. Diagonal. Okay, so next most important point. So here we are on the diagonal. Nearly halt. Yeah, but rounder and softer, not with your voice. You can't use your voice in the test. I'm going to kill you for that. That's 2 points right there. In an indoor arena like WEC, everybody will hear that. Good, okay, so free walk, extended walk, nearly halt. See, when you ride extended walk, look, don't throw the rein. Give her a longer rein, but keep a contact. And make sure even in the extended walk, you still have half halts. Otherwise, here's what will happen. You'll get to the end, you'll go to take up the reins, there's going to be some kind of a hovering little kind of an argument, and then you'll get her on the bit. That's a loss of points.
Yes.
So in that transition, you're losing points, but that's not the problem. The problem is, one day, that will be extended walk, it will be collected walk at H, collected walk to M, and then you're going to have to passage transition at M. If you have to argue with her at H about the contact, the connection, and this takes a little bit of time, you've chewed up probably 10 or 12 meters arguing to get her back on the bit. Now your collected walk is not your best possible collected walk, and if you don't resolve this issue by the time you get to this corner in front of me, you're not going to have a decent passage transition. So this will be called a cascading effect. You can see it all the time. So someone has problems in the collected walk, there's an argument, they get to M, it's not a good transition. The passage isn't that great because it starts late because the horse trots here. Then the rider pressures the horse to passage, but then by the time they do, they've got to turn at R, and nobody's prepared to piaffe at I. So it's a cascading effect of problems. So when you ride extended walk, you still have to half halt. Stretch round and more through to the bit. Do not let her disconnect from you. Don't let her disconnect from you. So keep that feeling, thump, thump, heartbeat of a half halt, rounder, softer, through the whole diagonal. So when you take a walk break, your definition of a walk break is you're going to work on extended walk. And in this extended walk, probably from M all the way to K, you're probably going to have 15 to 20 half halts. They're generally not going to be that big, they're the smaller one, unless she ignores one of them. Then you have to make a bigger half halt, and the next biggest half halt would be nearly halt. And you make her rounder and stretch to the bit. So there's 2 ways you improve extended walk. This is obviously one of them. The other way is the philosophy of how you train her. You compress her, you put her together, collect her, squeeze her together, and then you relax and allow moments, stride, 2, 5, 6 steps of self-carriage. You let her stretch out. But you don't let her stretch out so badly that I would say, oh my God, she's strung out. But you allow her top line to stretch longitudinally, just like you. You breathe in, you breathe out. So I can tell if my old dog is still alive because I look at her like, oh my God, is she still alive? And then I look at her rib cage and I can see, oh, it's expanding, right? And then I see it contracts and it expands. That concept is you riding her the entire time. Make sure her jaw's a little bit softer. You can trot on when you're ready. So this statement, if she's actually supple from that walk work, exactly, you should be able to trot on with no hesitation. But if this walk work was not ridden properly with those half halts, you'd have to take 3 seconds. Okay, so new topic. Come to walk for a second. New topic. Let's talk about the lesson. You taking the lesson, okay? So I'm gonna highlight something. I'll say something important. This something important needs to stick in your mind, and you have to adjust the aids that you're giving and incorporate the request, the new statement, and make this part of your normal mantra. Repertoire, right. Flexion to the right's missing. You don't have enough flexion and bend to the right. So fix that, but don't make me say that again. So as you fix that, see, you did it instantaneously. But when you now think of what you recite in your head, okay, I got to remember to keep her forward and rounder and supple, and oh, my flexion and bend, half halt, give, have good posture, geometry. Thank God there's not 10 people I have to watch out for in the ring. Oh, I've got to listen to what he's saying and figure out what the hell he means, right? So in this grouping of 10 things that you have to remember, put flexion right at the beginning. So whatever it is that you tend to forget, put it at the top of the list. So perhaps in your barn there's a whiteboard, right? You write stuff down. These are things to remember to do. In my barn, it was shocking that clean the wash stall drain and clean the horse's sheaths were always like things that never happened, okay? But they would be erased from the whiteboard, so I would assume that it happened, then discovered that it didn't happen. So those two undesirable things got put at the top of the list. So you need to do that first today. You can canter when you're ready. Focus on your half halt. Your canter departure aid needs to be your core, your seat, both legs on the girth, and put your inside leg forward 1.5 inches or 2 inches. Don't put your outside leg back anymore. Your outside leg back means too many different things. It means travers, it means half pass, it means pirouette. By the time you get to your ones, if you keep doing that, you'll have swinging ones right off the bat. Rounder, neck lower, flexion, bend, good. Rounder, good, very good. Now in this canter, modulate your canter, right? Don't let her kind of stay short all the time. Softly send it a little bit more forward to the bit, in the flexion and bend, of course, right? Now very carefully, by making several half halts, lower her croup and collect her, but do it very smoothly. If you do it too quickly, she'll tense or stiffen and possibly come up at you. And then do it again. This is just called a feeling. Don't lose the flexion and bend. So when I begin cantering, I verify what canter I have to start with. Is it too collected and short and choppy? Is it strung out and in the realm of working canter or more? Or where am I? And once I decide what it is and I make an adjustment, I don't tend to ride exactly the same strides indefinitely. So I'm always using the word gymnastic. Nearly walk. It's smooth, it's soft, but nearly walk. Core, seat, leg. Yep, good. Canter normally. Good. Canter normally. Straight ahead. Straight ahead. So when you canter around the arena, you should be warming up your canter for a pirouette, so you could collect her a little bit, or you could do that in the corner. You should be warming up your canter for medium or extension, but it shouldn't just be one singular canter. Now, when you watch your video, you've got to drop her neck down. She's on the bit, nicely on the bit, but through experience, I know if I asked you to do something like a pirouette, she's going to tense the middle of her back and get a little high. Or if I asked you to ride multiple flying changes and you got to, let's say, number 6 of 2-time changes, or 5, she's going to get too high in her head and neck posture. 10-meter circle, walk transition. See, the walk transition says it all. So if she came to walk, watch your video, and you noticed her croup lowered, and it seemed like she walked behind first, and then her front feet just softly touched the ground, that would be ideal. But you see, she came to walk downhill. So what that's telling you is my half halt in my canter, it's got to be better. It's got to be, hey, mare, be ready. Canter again. So make sure you ride a variation of half halt. I'll do my best to explain that. There's a half halt for walk. There's a half halt for nearly walk. There's a half halt for halt. There's a half halt for working canter. There's a half halt for medium canter. There's a half halt, much better, for extended canter. Okay, that was better. But after you walked, look at me, that happened. Watch that. It's her back.